Good morning. My name is Salvador Gonzalez, and I'm running for U.S. Senate to represent the great state of Florida in the election of 2024 against the current sitting senator, the Honorable Rick Scott. Today, I would like to talk to you about gun violence in America. And as we see time and time again, um, it's unstoppable. It happens every month. A couple of days ago, as a matter of fact, on Sunday, um, my son and I were in the car. We are talking about school gun violence. My son is in the eighth grade. He's 13 years old. We talk about school shootings very often. And I said to him, we're overdue for a school shooting. And sure enough, on Monday, there was a school shooting. Now, to stem gun violence in some communities, they have initiated what they call gun buyback programs. And what those programs do is they have people who own guns come in, return those guns, and they get money for those guns. No questions asked. I don't know how much gun violence has decreased in these communities. I'm sure it has somewhat, or at least taking guns away from people who perhaps should not have them. Now, whenever you want to curve an action or have people do something that they don't generally want to do, you have to have some sort of compensation, right? Usually, the compensation is in some sort of reward or gift. But generally, the compensation is monetary. We go to work, we get paid, we get money for working. So I want you to keep in mind that as I begin, because I know that what I'm going to say is going to immediately be criticized for putting more guns out into the streets and thereby causing more gun violence. I am a strong believer in the Second Amendment. I don't own a gun. I've never owned a gun. I don't really care to own a gun. When I was in high school, I was in JROTC, and we practiced shooting 22 rifles. I was very good at it. One time, my instructor was surprised that I had gotten 3 rounds in the exact same hole. He said, "Didn't you fire the rounds that I gave you?" And I said, "Yes." And then he looked down and he was like, the look on his face was like, "Wow." So I'm good at shooting a weapon, or at least I was back when I was in high school. So yes, I'm a Second Amendment proponent. I believe that everyone should have guns. It's a matter of fact, I believe that everyone should own a gun. Period. In communities where everyone owns a gun, there are some statistics that say that the community is safer. I think that if people own a gun, it is less likely for criminals to look at a person and say, "Hey, that guy is an easy target." Now, what the opponents of the Second Amendment have many valid arguments, right, towards the regulation of firearms, and I agree with a lot of that. What they don't realize is the importance of guns and the ability of the average citizen to be able to protect his or her family and property with those guns. What opponents may also not realize or understand is that the threads that hold society together are at best extremely thin. For evidence of that, all you have to ever do is look at what happened after Hurricane Andrew struck Homestead, Florida in the 1990s. I believe it was 1991 or 1990. And what happened after Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans in 2005. Within days of those two natural disasters, the average citizen had to rely upon had to rely upon themselves to protect their family and property. And and even those even those examples, pardon me, let's go backtrack a little bit. Those are major hurricanes, right? And something like that had to happen where people had to protect their own property. If you'll recall back during the pandemic, there was some incidents of violence, and all we were missing was toilet paper. Now, can you imagine what would happen if there's a shortage of something else more vital to survival? Gasoline, water, or something that humans truly need to live day to day basis. What would happen to our society if water disappeared or oil disappeared? People would descend into chaos. And therefore, I think it is prudent that people are able to defend their families and their property and defend others as well. And I think that the more people own guns, the better. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a major problem in the United States. Gun violence in the United States is completely unacceptable, and it is endemic to the United States. No other country has the level of gun violence that we have in our society. So the left and the right have been arguing about how to approach this topic for decades now. And I remember since I was a kid, when I was 12 years old, I remember hearing the arguments back and forth. Yet in that time, the bodies just keep piling up and piling up and piling up and piling up. So, how do we solve this problem? How do we finally come to a conclusion that everyone can live with and everyone can accept? As your senator, this is what I will propose. I will support and propose that Congress establish a new administrative body to regulate guns with the sole intent to make guns more available to more people. I see no other organization more capable of this, to take control of this, than the National Rifle Association. What I want is for us to give the NRA or an organization like the NRA the ability to regulate guns, recommend laws, and provide regulation for guns. That's what I foresee, and that's what I want us to do. Now, I know a lot of people right now are going to be aghast. They're going to be shaking their heads. This guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I probably don't. But please continue to listen. Who among you doesn't think that the NRA or any group will not jump at the ability to grow in scope, to make money in the billions of dollars by having the ability to levy fees, collect dues, sell liability insurance, and pretty much having a monopoly on the aforementioned items? If we give the NRA or an organization like the NRA the ability to do these things, guess what? All of a sudden, they will be for regulating. They will be for providing liability insurance in case of in case of an accidental shooting. They will be for those things if they can manage the premiums and collect on those premiums. So the NRA gets what they want, which is more guns, And the other side, the left, gets what they want, which is the regulation of guns. I think that that will help because it gives each side what they want. And I think that the NRA will jump on this because it will help them grow. They will realize that this is a huge moneymaker for them. So let's go back to the beginning when we began this conversation. How do we get someone to do something that they don't generally want to do? And the way we do that is by placing a monetary value or reward to what they're doing. So, as your senator, I will do my best to begin this process, the process of establishing the NRA as a governmental body, in essence, to basically do what the Department of Motor Vehicle does for guns. I believe this is a step in the right direction to appease the gun owners, to ensure public safety, and most importantly, to enable citizens to defend themselves, their family, and their property. I would also like to talk to you about assault weapons. As far as I understand it, our reservists from the Army, National Guard, Marines, when they go on their weekend trainings, they train with assault weapons. Now, none of our reservists who are professional military people take those assault weapons home. So you might ask yourself why. Because the military realizes that these weapons are very dangerous and they can't have people running around with these weapons, right? So our military personnel are not allowed to take their weapons home. As your senator, I will not propose we ban assault weapons, but rather that we allow law-abiding citizens to own those weapons, but that those weapons be kept in some sort of armory or some sort of safe at a separate location from their home. Um, I foresee assault weapons being kept at local gun shops, firing ranges, or specialized storage units. And of course, these places that are non-military would be controlled by the NRA or the owner of that armory, if you will, for lack of a better word. We come up with a word for it. I don't know what it could be. These facilities, of course, will allow citizens to have 24 by 7, 365 access to their guns or to their assault weapons. Please, let me backtrack. In this case, I'm only talking about assault weapons. The armories will be kept, I'm sorry, the assault weapons or any weapon deemed an assault weapon will be kept in the armory. Regular handguns, 22s, 45s, whatever. Citizens can keep them at home. But assault weapons would be kept in an armory that can be controlled by the NRA and other organizations that have the license to do so. I don't think that this will stop all of the gun violence that we see with assault weapons, but I believe that it is a step forward. Um, I think that, for example, in this last incident, the person's parents saw that they were walking out with a huge bag. They wondered what was in those bags. It was assault weapons. Now, I believe that if a person has their assault weapons in an armory and they want to take them out, the NRA or the local dealership of the armory can ask a few questions as to where that person is going with all those weapons and alert the proper authorities. I think that that will stem the number of school shootings that we have. It will also stem other shootings that we have at other places throughout the United States. I truly believe that law abiding citizens, no law abiding citizen wants an assault weapon in the hands of a person who is not mentally stable. These weapons of war, these assault weapons, can tear off the limb of a child with one round. They can tear off a leg, decapitate a 6 year old. They can pretty much decapitate an adult. These weapons can cause severe injury, injuries that will affect that person for the rest of their life if they happen to survive. So, in recap, what I foresee is giving an organization like the NRA the ability to control guns, much like the Department of Motor Vehicle does. I think this will help them grow. It will help them put more guns into the hands of our citizens, while at the same time providing the regulation that the left wants. As your senator, and if I am elected, this will be one of the things that I will work on to make sure that we get this at least in the process and begin to end this huge problem that we have in the United States. I hope you've read through I'm sorry, I hope you've listened through the entire um, video. I was afraid to create this video because I know what the politics are and the feelings, the deep feelings that people have. I know that the right has very deep feelings about this and the left has very deep feelings about this. But I think that we need to reach a compromise. And I think the right compromise is to give the NRA what they want: growth and more gun ownership. And they in turn can give us what we want, is regulation of these weapons. The NRA will become bigger, more people will own guns, and the NRA will become richer. This is the solution that we need right now to stop what is happening. Thank you. Please forward this video, join my webpage, and let's talk more about this. I'm happy to chat with anyone about these ideas, and I'm happy to talk to anybody, interview with anyone, and sit down and maybe something that I said could be explained better, or can be the thought, the idea can be improved. I'm not going to tell you that my ideas are always going to be the best. I'm sure there's a lot of things that I haven't thought about, or where my ideas can be improved upon. This is what I want to do. I want to make sure that we share ideas to make society a better place to deal with the problems that we have, to make them better. That's what I'm running on. Thank you.